try that again. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me clearly, and then I will jump into the subject, and then we'll do a little Q&A as usual. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming. Code Long and Profit. So I'm just going to wait for somebody in the comments. Please say, yes, we can hear you clear. And then we'll just jump into it. If you're watching the VOD, I've left it up because it was worth watching. So today what I'm going to be talking about is how coding is diminishing in software development, but it actually, the reality of the situation, coding is has always been diminishing in software development. This is not a new phenomenon. Hey, how are you, J-Boss? How are you guys doing? Also, when you do pop in, let me know that you can hear me, A. And B, let me know where you're from. So, J-Boss from where? I don't know. Hello. All Realm 9701 from where? Where are you from? Are you from California? Are you from... Okay, you can hear me. Good. Thanks for joining. All right, so people are starting to join in. I'll give people a few more minutes before we jump into the subject at hand. I'll do a little bookkeeping, literally bookkeeping. So people have, I can hear you from New York City. Very good. I'll answer questions once I go through my little discussion here. And yeah. So cool. All right. First of all, welcome to the stream. So, question I get all the time: if I am a developer, how do I improve my skills? What should I learn next? Should I learn a new framework, new language, etc.? So assuming that you know how to write commercial code to a certain extent, one thing you want to do is you want to pick up this book here, or to study the subject online. It's called Refactoring. There we go. Refactoring. This is the book. The link is below. This is a book that will teach you how to write cleaner and better code and how to fix broken code. So this is a great book, Refactoring. It's I think it's the only book from the 1990s that I kept, because this is evergreen. So there's one for Java, link below. There's one for JavaScript. The principles are universal regardless of a programming language. So if you learn how to refactor with Java, you learn how to refactor with Python, you learn how to refactor with C#. If you're a tutorial beginner and you want to learn how to code, again, you can use AI, you can use my interactive training platform. If you like books, I wrote a book. I wrote this book 10 years ago. I was about to say 10,000 years ago. But you can get it on Amazon still, and probably find it in bookstores maybe. It's still relevant because everything I teach in here, the fundamentals, have not changed since I've written this book. Lots of colorful pictures in there. You can also see photos of me when I had my hair. All right, so how many people are online now? If you can, give me a thumbs up. And it's good for the algos. Hello, good, you can hear me. I use Rust to code my cloud application platform. I love Rust, and I like you, Stef. I appreciate that, thanks. Cool. Rust is actually gaining in popularity. I was talking to an old friend of mine who was a C++ developer, a very high-level guy, and he much prefers himself using Rust when he can versus or over C++. He just finds it to be better. Although, I'm not a Rust coder, not a Rust developer, but apparently it's a little harder to get your head wrapped around it. But apparently, once you do, it's more productive. So I'm told, but I don't have a personal opinion. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump into the subject, and if people come late, they can just go watch the replay. So the title is, essentially I was saying, in software development, coding, or the role of coding, how much time you spend in coding in software development is diminishing. This is having another step up in terms of its diminishment, for lack of better terms, and because of AI. But this is the trend in software development since the inception. The amount of code you had to write in the 80s relative to the 90s was much more to get something done. And then when you went into the 2000s, it was, again, you wrote much less code versus what you had to write in the 1990s. I talk about this for example, I remember when I was on a project, we were working on this big project for a telco, and one of the developers had to spend 2 weeks programming up a date picker object that would work on Explorer and Netscape, to give you an idea how long ago that was. So today there's widgets, there's jQuery widgets, there's HTML5 calendar widgets. So that's an example where literally a couple of weeks of coding has been replaced by libraries or something preset. And it just goes on and on and on. When frameworks came out, full stack frameworks like Django and Laravel and Spring Boot and so on, .NET, a lot of this code is pre-written for you. It's just there. So that's why web apps and applications in general have gotten much more sophisticated, because a lot of the code is already written, right? I hope you get that. So AI just takes it to another level of abstraction, as the nerds would say. And so it's normal. So I see this shift. It doesn't disturb me, because I've seen, like, again, the amount of code we had to write in the 1990s relative to what you had to do in 2015, massively different. Even I remember from 1996 to 2002, there was a big difference in what we did. I remember a friend of mine, he was one of the early internet web guys with me, and he got out of it, I think, in 98 or something. And then a few years later, in 2002 or 3 or something, he decided to get back into it, and he was amazed. I remember he gave me a call. He said, "It's unbelievable, Stef, at how much web development has changed just in these few years, from 98 to 2003. He was flabbergasted, because that's when the CSS-based layout came into play, and frameworks started becoming much more prominent. Perl CGI disappeared altogether, so on and so forth. So I am not disturbed, and I suggest you shouldn't be disturbed by the AI, because I have seen this progression before, where you see less and less coding required to develop apps, more and more, using other people's code, whether the code is expressed in a framework, in a library, or in browser tools, or now in AI. So it's just, the other pattern I recognize in the software game, going back to 94, 95, when I wrote my first piece of commercial code, those who embrace the new tech, they get ahead. Now, all that being said, you're not going to be able to use a framework like React properly unless you know your JavaScript, right? And you know your web, essentially. That was one of the problems that people had when React was big. A lot of people would just jump into the React course, and they couldn't get it to work. And they couldn't figure out why they couldn't get it to work, because to be able to work with React properly, you had to know your JavaScript, you had to know the DOM, you had to know the browser, you had to know the server and the request response model was. You had to know a little bit of HTML, of course, you had to know CSS. So a lot of people would do the React course and get lost, because they didn't know all these precursor technologies, all these foundational technologies that was required for you to work with React. You're seeing the same thing in the AI space. Yeah. You could vibe code a simple one-off, simple app, or vibe code a prototype, perhaps. But even the guy who coined the term vibe code, he released an app recently, and he said, I tried to vibe code my new app. I couldn't get it to work. So vibe coding has its place. Agents has the place, but you have to know how to leverage the AI tools to code, but be able to leverage those AI tools to code or to develop apps. You have to really know what you're doing. You have to understand the foundational technology. That's why I recommend like the refactoring book I just showed you before, and so forth. So again, if you've been hearing a lot of doom about the death of coding, the death of development, again, this is a normal pattern. This is a normal pattern that we're seeing. Just embrace the change. And those who embrace the change, they're going to do very, very well. All right, let me just do a couple questions here. You hear you? Good. I saw that. New York City, Place des Arts. Cool. Fizz, I think I recognize your username. Place des Arts is like 5 blocks from me in Montreal, Canada. I am in Denmark, Nevada. Cool town. Toronto, All right. I use AI to code in Rust. It made me 10 times more productive. There you go. But you still had to know your Rust, right? ChatGPT, it could be, see, the models, whether it be ChatGPT, that's a model, Gemini is a model, Grok is a model, Claude Anthropic's AI is a model. You got all these models. DeepSeek, the Chinese model, they're all models. And they each have their pros and their cons. ChatGPT can do certain things better than Grok, and Grok can do certain better things than Gemini, and Gemini can do certain things better than Claude, and so on and so forth. So you're going to have to figure this out. There's this new type of developer who just understands the models. Just like great advanced developers understand the different languages, understand the different frameworks. A good web developer knows when it makes sense to use Node versus maybe Django versus maybe Java Boot, knows when Vue.js might be better or React might be better. So same thing with the developer who's aware of or uses AI tools. You'll know when GPT might be better, or Claude might be better, et cetera, and so forth, depending on what you do. So there's this new specialization, this new type of developer who just understands the model environment. It's not just the main models, like I just mentioned, Grok, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. It's also understanding the downstream technologies, very specialized implementations. Some of them are agents, sort of semi-autonomous AIs that are highly trained. So it's a whole area. It's a whole area with a huge opportunity for you. You're right that coding is shrinking, but advanced algorithms will be a lot easier to create, and that's what needed, I would say. Well, that's one thing where, again, I was in my conversation with my buddy, the developer. He emphatically said, I discovered myself that AI is great when you're processing log files, looking for errors, maybe writing very finite algorithms, writing complex SQL queries, writing regex patterns. This is where the AIs could save you a heck of a lot of time. Where the AIs can stumble is when you say, build me an app that is Twitter. Then it's going to have all kinds of problems. So that's where that stands. From Seattle, cool. He taught me JS. I guess me, maybe, or maybe ChatGPT. Hey, Tony, how are you? C++/Rust is high level. He meant high level developer or very skilled. I think with the winky face, I think Tony was trying to conflate it with high level languages like JavaScript and I don't know, VB script or something, which it is not. They are not. They're actually low level. When I talk about high level and low level languages, it's in reference to where the languages sit relative to the CPU. So we'll say this is a CPU called Canon, the processor. So you have all these layers of code and languages that sit closer to the CPU. The more code you have to write, the more power you have, the more speed you have, but also takes much longer time to get anything done. So at the very low level, you got the machine language, then you got assembler, then you got C and C++, and then you got Java, C#, JavaScript, and so on. And then you got frameworks that sit on top of that. And then you got AI that sits on top of the whole thing. So lower level means closer to the CPU. Higher level means further away from the CPU. That's my interpretation of it. Rust and C++ can either high-level or low-level system program, according to my knowledge. I don't know much about Rust, and I'm not a C++ coder either, but generally speaking, C++ is used for kernels or for maybe you want to write code for hardware that doesn't have much resources, so you need to do that. Yeah. YouTube is plugging ads in live streams now. No, you got to pay the bills, guys. Hey, if you don't mind, give me some thumbs up. I appreciate it. AI is a new REST API. Yeah, exactly. Landuke said that the Linux kernel maintainers said that Rust in the Linux kernel experiment was a success. Thoughts? I don't know. I'm not a Linux kernel developer. I haven't used Linux in a long time. I did, well, I sat beside my friend as we recompiled a Linux kernel for a very particular machine I had. It was too slow for Windows. So we recompiled the kernel. So it just loaded the drivers needed for that particular machine. So it brought life back in the machine. But that's my extent of, if the Linux guys are saying that, then it must be true. React is never better. Is GitHub the place to put your code, or are there other options that might be better? I think GitHub is the big one, but I'm sure other people might have other opinions. We use GitHub personally, but yeah. Such a great suggestion. Models are tools, and knowing how to use them and their pros and cons allows us to choose the correct tool for any given problem. Exactly. You have to look at the different models, Grok, Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude. You got to look at them as like languages, as frameworks, as tools. They're tools. And you're going to find. So for example, I developed an AI fitness coach, and it's called Brad Fit, the fitness coach. And it does very specific things for me. It analyzes food, tells you the macro breakdown, gives you suggestions based on my fitness protocol, what I put together. And I found that only ChatGPT could perform one of the core functions. Grok couldn't do it. Gemini couldn't do it. I guess DeepSeek could have done it. I didn't test it against DeepSeek. I just used GPT. So yeah, sometimes, again, that's some knowledge there, right? If I want to do image analysis, I know that GPT is the one that can do it. I know that Grok can do it, at least now. I'm recording this December 11th. It could, 3 weeks from now, it could do it. The models are always evolving. But I think what you're going to see is great developers are just going to know the models, and they're going to know how to leverage which ones. And when you come into a job, whether as you're a freelancer, a contractor, or employee, you're going to be your value, one of your value, besides understanding how to code, understanding the basic infrastructures and best practices of coding, you're going to have to know the AI stacks, That would just make you better at what you do. How does a regular web developer differentiate themselves nowadays? AI, understand the AI stacks, as I said, it's the new React. When you look at AI models and agents and MCP and all the protocols are developing around the AI, think of it as the new front-end framework, the new React, the new Vue, the new, there you go. Especially since barrier to entry has been lowered. Well, barrier to entry has been raised up in terms of what was hot 5 years ago. So 5 years ago, if you just knew basic React, you might be able to get a job. That's changed. But if you know AI and React, then your chance of getting a job will increase quite a bit. That's the lesson here. I like to work in cloud computing. Should I learn about backend development as well? Learn the basics. I'm not a cloud computing expert. I don't use AWS or Azure or anything like that. I have a private VPS for my own hosting. I use a private VPS, but it's fully managed. As a developer, as somebody who actually has an application in circulation now, Studioweb.com, which is my learning SaaS, which is also a classroom management tool. I host it on a VPS. I don't want to deal with server issues. I used to have my own servers. I used to manage my own servers and lock them down and patch them. And I had physical hardware. I had physical server boxes in my place. But I went to dedicated and virtual dedicated. Now I got the VPS, Do you have an active dev team, or do you hire developers now and then depending on the need? Now I hire developers now and then depending on my need. I don't have I've had active dev teams in the past. Studioweb, by the way, if you go to studioweb.com, that's my training platform. Originally, back in 1998, I registered that domain because I renamed my web design studio, Studioweb, my web design studio, where I had my team with me. And it was a small team, but we did a bunch of projects for various companies. Hi, Steph. When learning a new language, do you experiment with the documentation? Yeah, it depends how interested I am in it, but yeah, for sure. Why not? Do things that, whatever you do, whatever you choose to do, whether it's software development or whatever, jogging, whatever you do, try to find something that's fun for you. Find a language that's fun for you. Type of programming is fun for you. If something is fun for you, you're going to excel. You're going to do very well at it. If it's not, if it's boring for you, you're not going to excel. So make sure you find something that is fun for you. That's for sure. So to recap, just for people who are late to the game, the trend has always been, since I've been around the game since the 90s, in development, the trend has been always you see less and less code being written by developers who are deploying applications. It's just the way it goes. So if people are new to software development and they see this whole AI thing, they're probably freaking out. They go, oh my God, so much. We're not writing nearly as much code as we did before. Well, I'm telling you, it's compared to the amount of code we had to write back in the 90s to get anything done, it's much less. It was much less in 2015 than it was in 1995. Much less, not even close. So, yeah, nothing new there. I want to start a freelance dev gig. What kind of questions should I ask potential clients in order to land a gig? Well, it depends on the job. It's like first thing you got to do is you got to put up a nice looking website so you look respectable and capable. And then you got to just start mining, letting people know, word of mouth, on the web, maybe do some geo-targeting. Like if I'm in Montreal, I'd say, let's say I want to develop WordPress sites for people. I mentioned WordPress because so many small businesses are WordPress. So you might write some article, Montreal WordPress developer, our Montreal business uses WordPress, those type of articles. So somebody might search on Google, WordPress developer in Quebec or Montreal, and then you pop up. So the questions you ask is, based on, the particular job. It's a very broad question, so it's hard for me to give you any specific suggestions now. I hate learning and using JavaScript, but I love CSS. So that suggests to me that you want to be more of a front-end UI, UX person, which are very valuable, by the way. So I would work on UI, UX, get really good at that, understand the front-end UI, UX tool sets, the design rules, and look at how AI can help you with the UI, UX work to speed up that whole process. If I want to get into web development as fast as possible, is JavaScript a stack way to go? It depends on where you want to work. If you want to work for companies, you have to look at the local job market. First thing you do when you study anything, whether it be software development, whatever it is, look at the job opportunities in your part of the world, right? I know, like, for example, in Germany, .NET is very popular. In New York City, it's .NET and Java. I know West Coast certain areas, Python, JavaScript very big. And there's always a mixture, So yeah, that's how. So is JavaScript the best? It depends on where you live, and it also depends what you want to do. If you want to do freelance for small businesses, you got to learn a little JavaScript, but PHP you find in WordPress is much more important. Why? Because there's so many small businesses run on PHP-based systems. Let's see what this guy says. Code is dead. You're foolish if you think jobs are around the corner. Well, no. Coding is not dead. Coding is just diminishing, as I said, as I've been describing here. AI is the big hype right now, but some say quantum computing could be next. Is it worth learning early to stay ahead, or will it take too long to be practical and useful for most people? That's a very good question. So IBM, which was, I don't know if you've probably heard of IBM, one of the biggest companies in the tech space. They've been around forever, way before Apple, way before Microsoft, way before Google and Facebook. So IBM, about 2 years ago, something like that, they sold off their traditional development business. They sold it off. We're not doing traditional development, but the web stack and so forth. And they pivoted it into AI and quantum. And now their stock has exploded. I bought some of their stock when they're at the lows, and now it's exploded. And so, yeah, they're doing very well with their AI, and they're investing heavy in quantum. So what I would do if I were you, I would research about where quantum is, see what IBM is doing with quantum computing, see what's going on with their AI as well, and check out, just find out what's the scuttlebutt in terms of quantum. And I think I get the impression, having not looked into it very closely, but I do get the impression that quantum application, real quantum application, is around the corner. It is not like 10 years away. So that could be a huge opportunity. Again, if you get into something early, that's when you can make some big money there. Okay, we did that. Back to laying bricks, boys. I'm a pro developer since 2005, and I've never written as much code as I'm writing now. Oh, there you go. As I said in other video, Fizz, there's lots of work for competent developers. No question about that. If you know what you're doing, yeah. Now, one of the reasons, I did a video yesterday or the day before, what was it? I saw an interview with the head of one of the biggest banks, Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan. He was on, I don't know, Bloomberg or CNBC, Financial News. Anyway, he was saying that the reason people are not hiring so much is not because of AI, it's because they're worried about the economy. So they're pulling back a little bit, and they're waiting to see what will happen to the economy. That's exactly what's happening. Now, you've probably heard of some layoffs. Yeah, there's layoffs, but relative to when Microsoft lays off 30,000 people, it's like whatever, 5-10% of their workforce. It's not much. So it sounds like a lot, but in fact, as far as I can tell, I haven't done a big study on it, but as far as I can tell, all the big high-profile layoffs you're hearing about, it's really like 5%, 3% of the workforce. So it's not pleasant for the people being laid off, but it's not like huge. It's not like 30% of the workforce, Quantum computing and AI go hand in hand. So there you go. Yeah, see, I'm telling you guys, opportunity. Learn your foundations of code so that you got your nerd eyes so you can discern the environment around you, and then get into quantum, get into AI. Well, AI is happening now. Quantum may begin to happen. I haven't, again, study it, understand it. When I got into web development back in the 90s, I was one of the first ones. I had one of the first websites in the world, period. I had one of the first websites in the world with pictures in it. That's how early I was. And that gave me a huge advantage in the marketplace because there wasn't many people doing it. See where I'm going with this? I just joined live. I just started web development learning journey. Do you think front end worth to learn or should focus on full stack? More opportunity with full stack. There's opportunity with front end, but there's more opportunity with the full stack. No question about that. No question about that. Yeah, so there you go. Any other questions, guys, while you have me on? It's only been 28 minutes, not bad. Any other questions? If you just joined the stream, I'm Uncle Stef. I've been a developer since I started making money writing code in 1995. And I've done a bunch of software over the years, so. I don't know about the other companies laying off people, but for Microsoft, it's mostly middle management. Yeah, flattening the org, not laying off developers. There you go. So that's where I think AI is going to hit people. It's going to hit the paper shufflers. The paper shufflers are the middle management people. That I think they're going to be hit much more about the AI. What do you think of this wide angle, super wide angle lens? Distorts the fingers. AI is a tool, nothing to be scared about. No, embrace it. People who get into AI first, they're going to do very well. They're very well. It's just some people they're living in the past. They think it's still 2018. Dude, I want to do React. It's 2025 now, about almost 226. That's what I think personally. Again, I'll keep saying, I think it's the best opportunity coming up now in decades, perhaps, for developers. Best opportunity in decades, because we got this brand new tool set, the AI, maybe quantum, and this new tool set is allowing for brand new things to be done which we could not do before, like my fitness AI. So yeah, I would definitely jump into it. All right. So there you go. That's the long and short of it. Do you have any questions while you got me on here? Now is your opportunity. Do you have any questions about career, whatever, coding, development? Now is your opportunity to ask me. And because that's I pretty much covered it for today. So that's about it. Are we in an AI robotic arms race? Yes, we are. Will the Terminator become a reality in the future? Possible. I doubt we should be worried about it, but they're definitely in an arms race. What kind of monitor do you prefer, ultra-wide or normal? I typically go ultra-wide myself. You see here? This is my ultra-wide right here. I use Apple, so it's Apple ultra-wide. But I actually have another monitor that, who gave it to me? I forget the company. Anyway, I got another monitor. I did a video on it. It's a coding monitor, so it's not so much wide, but it's tall, and you can flip it. So it's very cool for coding. This is more of a general purpose as ultra wide here, so that's what I use personally. How do you win software dev contract as a developer in Canada who has an incorporated company? Well, you got to go out there and you got to start knocking on doors. What you want to do is you want to find a specialization in development where there's a lot of demand. Again, AI chatbot development, that kind of thing could be pretty easy for you. There's a lot of WordPress stuff too still. Looking long term, which do you think is better in the future proofing? A CV, a specialized master's in AI or more general computer science? I think the low hanging fruit now, the big opportunity is getting into AI. So get into AI. I think there'll be a lot of opportunity for you there. Or if you do computer science, make sure that you specialize in AI there. You use AI to develop applications. So yeah, I would study that, study the AI market, and if you're going to spend time investing time into a year or a few years into schooling, spend a few weeks, a month studying the market, getting a feel for it. Especially so you're in Europe, do it in Europe. Okay, we got that. Dope. Uncle Stef, give me advice. I am a first semester student in university. Excuse me. Let me try again. Give me advice. I am a first semester student university. In which area should I focus on to make successful career? Well, first semester, you're just starting out. I would start researching the market. Start understanding what you like to do, and then you can take it from there. Again, emerging technologies, emerging trends is where you can gain a lot of the traction, right? So I would look into it that way. The good thing is that you're a first student, first semester really. You have a lot of time, but spend time studying that. Study the market, get to know different tech, get to know different things, see what you like as well. Yeah, it was a BenQ. Thanks for reminding me. Exactly, it was a BenQ. I still have it back here. What is a list of skills set you need to be a freelance developer? Well, you need the freelance, you need the web stack, you need some PHP, you need some WordPress. You don't have to be an expert. That means you know a little bit about databases as well. You should be able to set up a website, register a domain. You should know all those things. You should also know freelancing. It's a skill. It's a set of freelancers know how to write a basic contract, how to manage clients and their expectations. how to schedule time, how to bid on projects, interpersonal skills play a role. This is these are the basic skill sets of a freelance developer. I have a course on it if you want to take a look. Well, thank you very much. What are your favorite AI tools? I mostly use VS Code, GitHub Copilot Agent, but when I pair program, I usually use Claude. Yeah, I find myself just using GPT because I'm doing more general purpose stuff. When I don't code too much these days. When something comes up, I have my developer take care of that for me. But I did some work. I did some prompt engineering with GPT, and I did some debugging, a little bit of light coding, just writing some HT-access rules and some INI stuff when one of my old apps started freaking out on me. But yeah, so no, I don't use any of those other tools. It's because I'm just doing very light work. So mostly GPT. BenQ, yeah, it was BenQ. Hey man, how are you doing? What are your favorite? Got that one. How much square foot you have in your apartment? In my condo, it's small. It's only 1,000 square feet. It's just for me. I actually downsized from my previous place because I didn't need it. This is a little tight here. Did that? Hey Stef, I am an iOS dev, but think that this market has become very saturated. Now everyone talks about Rust. Do you think it's a better bet, or should I stick with iOS? Doubts really make me struggle. I would study the market. Don't go based on hearsay. Do some study. Do some market study. See what's going on. How many Rust jobs are there? What are the requirements? If you see that Rust looks favorable in terms of jobs, then try out Rust. See if you like it even. You may not like it. I don't know. Again, I don't want to beat a dead horse. The AI-based development, augmented AI-first development, agent development, working with agents, these are all things that I think there's a lot of opportunities there. Yeah. With the rise of AI and apps that integrate it, plus frameworks like Fast API, do you think Python will become a more viable option for backend development in the future? That's a good question. I couldn't say. I think that the languages are going to become a little less important. I think Python, because again, the coding aspect in development will diminish once again. Any experienced developer on the stream knows that when you become a more experienced developer, you pivot from language A to B to C quite often. It's quite often, so it's not a big deal. Where do you live? I live in Montreal. Stef, your AI app, Brav, it's a custom GPT that you trained with prompts, right? Yes. Was there any other complexity? I suppose you pushed the API through Vue.js component, right? No, I just did it very simply. So my Brad Fitness AI is a custom GPT. I spent 3.5 months or so writing out the prompts. It's not like I spent 8 hours a day. An hour on Monday, and an hour and a half on Tuesday, and half an hour on Thursday. That kind of thing. Over 3.5 months, I refined its capability. There's still be more work to do. So to the point where it's functional now, but I just deployed it using OpenAI right now. I did it very simple as I preach. When you release an alpha of a product, just get out something that's functional, and then you see what happens. Yeah, no worry about it. I just assumed that there's a delay in the chat, so no big deal. Not a problem. What is your favorite computer to develop software in? I like using Mac OS now. I think the best laptop today to get bang for your buck is probably the MacBook Air. At Bionic, wish Stef was my tech lead when I was coming up, and I appreciate that. I was probably here. Anyway, so there you go. Yeah, any other questions, guys? Wow, almost 40 minutes. We're 40 minutes in. Time flies. I appreciate the thumbs. If you don't mind giving the thumbs and sharing and commenting, it's good for the algorithms. I'm back. I used to do this live show all the time. I took a big hiatus. I needed a break, I guess. I'm back, though. I enjoy it. I will be able to keep doing these lives by not doing 2-3 hour marathon streams anymore. That we will not be doing, but I'll do a good 40 minutes. So there you go. If there's no other questions, I'll move on. But if you have, I'll wait a few more minutes to see if there's any other questions that pop up. Again, if you hear people dooming about coding, no. This pattern, this of less code being written is nothing new. In my career, I've seen less and less code being written. That is the trend. That is the trend. What technology is currently trending in the country you live in? Well, I live in Canada. It depends where. It depends on the province and stuff, but JavaScript popular, Java, C# is popular, Python's popular, PHP is popular. I haven't looked recently in my city. Appreciate, keep Devin. Were you scared or reticent by the tech layoffs, waves, or bootcamp recidivism? No, I wasn't, because I've seen this pattern before. Again, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, one of the CEO of one of the biggest banks in the world, JP Morgan is the bank, Jamie Dimon is the CEO. He was saying that the laying off and the not hiring has nothing to do with AI, according to him. And they have all the data. They have all the best data. It's much more to do with just companies trimming the fat, if you will. They overhired during COVID. And they're also worried about what's going to happen in the economy. So they're just being more cautious. So no, don't be worried. And this is normal. If you haven't seen it, economies, they do this all the time. You get upswing, everything's going great, and then it's downswing. Oh my God, it's terrible, and then it goes back up again. It's great. So it's always, that's the way it goes. It's the way it goes. So we're on a downswing. How far down we'll go, I'm not sure, but we have this AI thing, perhaps this quantum thing that's percolating. So there's an opportunity there. Small businesses are interested in getting leads more than having a website. How can you sell both? Well, if small business wants a lead, you have to show how your website works, what you build for them, which will probably become combined with social media strategies. You have to show how that's going to get them more leads, Don't change skills all the time. You'll be an eternal beginner for everything. Stick to one tech, and before you know it, you'll be printing money. Yeah, if you become really, really good at something, you get you make a lot of money. Hey, hello, Stef. Is Montreal market very different from Toronto? I couldn't say. I don't know what the Toronto market's like now. So I couldn't say. But you could just look it up. Look it up. You can do some searches, get some data. Do you have a history lesson on how Java was an option in freelancing 30 years ago and today? Java is very corporate, not very small business. Yeah, 30 years ago, so Java has become a legacy language for the most part, meaning very large organizations supporting very old applications. Back in the 90s, there was a lot of companies, small and medium and big, of course, creating brand new Java applications. But because Java was the light, nimble, dependable technology of the time, that is now it's become the big monolithic technology that's very dependable. So there's a lot of Java work, but it's going to be in large organizations. Any advice for Java devs? Just keep, especially Java, again, start leveraging AI on a regular basis so you write your code. Java didn't exist 30 years ago. Java came out in 1990. Well, it was announced in 1996. No, it was announced in 1995, and it hit the streets in 1996. So, what the hell was that? It's 30 years ago. But it was still, back in those days, in like 96 Java, 97 Java, everybody was trying to do applets. That didn't work out too well. Java eventually morphed from applets into, which were like client-side little mini applications that sat in the browser. It morphed from that into server-side a few years later. Did you see the pricing of GPT 5.2 Pro? No, I have not seen that pricing. I have the GPT Pro, this the $20 a month job. So I haven't felt the need for more at this point. Should universities start teaching how to collaborate with AI tools instead of focusing mainly on manual coding? 100%. You should do manual coding first semester, first half year, but they should also be integrating AI in the process, and there should be at least a semester on leveraging AI tools, AI first development, AI augmented traditional development, building agents, deploying agents. That should be definitely something. I actually added a AI module to my mentoring program. So you learn the JavaScript, and you learn the Python, you learn the SQL and the PHP and the HTML and the CSS, and you learn the web stack and so forth and all the other stuff. But now I teach how to look at AI, how to use it within that context as well. It's very important. Hello, Stefan. I have an important question for you. Can we hope a great tech job market soon or later for everyone in the world and or US only thanks to AI or not? I think AI is going to be very positive for developers. It's just you got to do the new type of development. That's all. I think it's going to be huge. I think people who jump into it, I think it's going to be a huge opportunity. Yeah, Python's good now. Let's see what the conspiracy analyst has to say. We are entering a new era of an idea-driven era where building the product is no longer a bottleneck. The bottleneck is knowing what to build. AI has collapsed the gap between imagination and execution to a great extent, I would agree. And that collapse, the pendulum swings back to those who can imagine boldly, synthesize creatively, and dream up things the rest of us didn't even know we needed. Yeah. You know what? That's I have to say, this is the comment of the night. The comment de nuit. Yeah. I think I agree with that's cool. Now, I'm going to screenshot that. I like that one. Conspiracy analysts appreciate it. I get a lot of my really good ideas from comments like this one, this thoughtful comment. So that's pretty good. What should I do? Learn the foundations of coding, web stack, then start incorporating AI, start studying the AI languages out there, understand how to use AI. You can learn with AI. You can learn, I have a mentoring program / boot camp. I'm biased, but I think it's the best one out there. And I teach you about AI as well in there. What should I do? I vibe coded for the last year and forgot how to code. Not the logic behind, but my hands don't write it automatically anymore. I feel useless now. Why would you feel useless? Nah, man. Listen, I wrote Java for years, and I was a very sophisticated Java programmer. Now, if you wanted me to write a basic servlet, I would have to look it up. So that's okay. Yeah, no worries. Appreciate good comment. The conspiracy analysis, good comment. Appreciate it. By the way, the pricing of GPT-5 proposed $165 per million output. All right. Is that a big increase or decrease? Yeah, that's the thing with AI. You got to watch the tokens, right? You got to watch those tokens. I'm imagining they're dropping their price. That seems like a lot of tokens there. So let me know. Curious. Yeah. So, wow, 49 minutes. Stefan, I took a 5-year break from coding. I want to get back into it, but it feels like starting from scratch and it's an uphill battle. Is it worth jumping back into? It won't be from scratch, man. If you wrote code before, you understand, the basics of programming, you won't have a problem. You'll pick it up like riding a bike, like boop. Yeah, just jump in, do a basic, tutorial on, whatever, I don't know. Let's say you did the web stack. Just do a quick one, spend a few hours on that. And then start, again, learn the AI stack. The AI is the new React. It's the new Vue. That's my view. As the conspiracy guy said, these are the comments. Read these. He's right about this. Guys making bank, man. There's guys making bank in the AI era. Freelancing is still king nowadays in the AI era. 100%. I think there's huge opportunity as a freelancer because of AI, because there's all these new implementations, there's all these new things you can do with AI that could not do before. So I'm a huge fan. There'll always be a software engineer out there, most of them with new labels. Libraries like Transformers, SciPy, and others make machine learning simple software engineering jobs. Yeah. I could be wrong, but I think that when the economy recovers, software companies might increase their volume of work due to AI instead of reducing the workforce due to AI. It could create more jobs. That's what I think is going to happen in the Viking cake, 100%. There's all these new things that you can do now because of AI, which is going to make people want to do them. So 100%. I see you teach Python in your course. What is the reason for that? I teach 3 programming languages. Good question. And the reason I teach 3 programming languages is, number one, JavaScript, Python, PHP are widely used, very popular. Then I use each of the languages to teach certain concepts, right? So I use, for example, PHP to teach the full stack, the basics of the CRUD and so forth. I use JavaScript to teach the DOM scripting, client-side manipulation of elements. And I use Python to teach more broad-based software development. And there are deep concepts in each of the languages that each of the languages express. So for example, there are classic collection types, arrays in JavaScript, which are handled some ways the same in Python, but they have something called a tuple, which is a different type of collection type. So I teach that, so on. So I use the languages because those 3 languages, because they have a use case. They're very popular. And also because I use them as vehicles to teach certain concepts. I see you teach current inference providers doing the same for AI engineers, software engineers, good starters for any jobs. Okay, thanks. Cool, no worries. All right. I appreciate that. Thanks for coming on. Code Long and Profit. I plan to do these twice a week now, Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'll do about 7 o'clock. We'll see how it goes and take it from there. So, all right, guys. I'm about to wrap up. So if you have any more questions, now is your last chance. I'll be wrapping up next 7 minutes. Is vibe coding the future? No, it's part of the future. I think vibe coding is going to be useful for certain types of little utility app development, maybe some prototype development. So it's definitely one of the developer skill sets, if you will, using the AI stack. Hey, no worries, man. Thanks for joining. I think AI will become the new layer like the IDE or something. The use of AI in hot fields, medical, robotics, and other will be very profitable like always. 100%. 100%. This is a great comment. I agree with you 100%. How do you think AI will affect comp science students that want to be software engineers? Software engineers are going to use AI. Just like software engineers use integrated development environments. Software engineers will use compiled languages and they'll use languages that are not compiled. They use frameworks and they'll use libraries. That's all part of it. So vibe coding, okay. No, intelligent direct use of AI as a tool. Yes, yeah. Vibe coding is, anyway, it's kind of a nebulous thing. It's kind of, I don't know if vibe coding will be a term used in 2 years from now. Hard to say. But generally, just work with the AIs. They're not perfect. They make mistakes. You can get into AI doom loops where you're caught in this doom loop where it's always wrong. So you have to know what you're doing. There's no question about it. What is going to protect my project from just be cloned? Well, that's an issue. That's an issue. You see, simple utilities will be clonable very easily. More complex implementations will be harder to clone. You see, because a big part about bringing an application into market, especially if you're doing custom stuff for companies, is you have to, the deployment itself has a certain level of complexity. That's a big issue. So that will protect you. How to best learn non-syntax stuff like architecture and design. Read books, ask AI, and build things. Like if you want to get into architecture and I assume design, you're talking software design. There's a book I recommend. Refactoring. Links below. There's one for JavaScript and one for Java. The principles work across all languages though. So you want to look at design patterns and refactoring. Design patterns and refactoring. That's where you want to go. How to build small projects and reverse engineer existing ones with AI, EB1. Add EB1. Build small projects and reverse engineer. Yeah, that's true. You have to know what you're doing with AI. Yes, 100%. 100%. That's why learning the foundations of software development is key. That's why in my program, in my mentoring program, which I put out years ago, I put it out 5 years ago, some of the courses on there, the original versions are much older. And I update them when I need to update them. But the foundations that I teach that are universal, they've been in place since about 2015, 2014. They haven't changed. There's been some little additions here and there, but a lot of times these additions have no impact on most people. Remember, as I mentioned in a video I put out a couple of days ago, no programmer knows everything about a particular language. Like Java, as an example, is huge. I wrote commercial Java code for several years, and I used a very small subset of Java. I just used a very small subset. I didn't use I didn't use Java Swing. I didn't use Java IO very often, maybe once in a while. For me, I was just like just servlets, core Java, JDBC, and JSP. I didn't use so many things. I just didn't need them, And that's how it is for most developers. The daunting thing when you come into software development for the first time, you see how big a language is. You go, oh my God, look at all this stuff. You don't have to learn. You just have to learn, like, as I said in my video, as a pro developer, you may only need to know like 20% of a language. You can start working with just 10% knowledge. And in fact, as you become more experienced, you realize the language is the least important aspect. Really, if you're good at what you do, those skills they go across all languages, So oftentimes as pros, you can be tasked to learn new languages, new frameworks on the fly. Why not Ruby on Rails? No, not Ruby or Ruby on Rails. That's just a joke of mine. My Ruby on Rails joke is not to bash Ruby. It's actually there to... I'm making fun of the idea that a particular language is universally better or universally worse. Ruby and Rails are not good for high concurrent web apps. If you have high concurrency, not good. But for other types of apps, it's very capable. Although people have complained Ruby is not keeping up with other languages. I don't know. I haven't looked at it in a while. But, all these languages have their pros and cons. They're all good. Python is good in certain circumstances. JavaScript is in C#, Java, Ruby, PHP. They all have their pros and cons. So it just depends on the job. And that's one of your roles as a web developer, as a developer, to be able to make informed judgments about which languages, which libraries, which frameworks, which type of databases to use. And now, which AI tools, which models, which, I don't know, downstream tools, agents. You may find particular agents will be very useful for a particular application, to know what agents are, to understand the infrastructure out there. And the exciting thing about it is that it's changing quite a bit, which means opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. All right, guys, it's been an hour already. Wow, time flies. Unbelievable. So I hope you enjoyed the stream. Let me know, give me some thumbs up. If you have any other questions, feel free to post them under this video. I take a look at the comments and I may answer them or make them the subject of the next live stream. And there you go. Mastodon runs on Ruby. All right, I'm going to leave you with my ASMR video. I've filmed this video a few years ago in Maine. So I'll answer one last question. Are we in need for the AI bubble to pop to be free of all these nonsense with AI will take your jobs and software engineers is cooked? Maybe. I don't know. I think in time people will figure it out. Meanwhile, guys, you could take advantage of the fact that people are dooming about AI, because while they're crying in their soup and dooming, you can work with AI, become a master AI developer, and you'll be way ahead of the game. So that's right. That's why I do these streams. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'm here to just share my experience. I've been doing this for 30 years, so I understand the game very well. And so I think if you follow my advice, I think you'll be in a great position. That's why I talk about other things, not just the coding. I talk about the business end, the job end. I'm talking about now the health and nutrition end, the finance end. Everything I teach, everything I talk about is based on personal experience. So there you go. Absolutely not. The economy will sink. There you go. It's there'll be ups and downs, but I'm generally very positive. So you know what you got to do. You know what you got to do. When you start making the extra money, I'll leave you with a last piece of finance advice, personal finance advice, and personal life advice. Finance advice number one: when you start making extra money, don't upgrade your lifestyle. Don't let lifestyle creep steal all your money. You want to start saving your emergency money as quickly as possible. Because when you have emergency money, life is easy. Number two, if you're younger, start training and eating natural foods. Train hard if you're younger, full of energy, because you're going to be, if you train really hard, build muscle, build flexibility when you're young, that will be like an investment. It's like investing in Bitcoin 15 years ago, even more important. Because what happens, you'll be restructuring the very, for lack of better terms, the very fabric of your body. You'll be infusing it with tremendous power. And this will come in handy, especially as you get older. And if you are older, keep walking, exercising, and eat natural foods, natural foods, natural foods. Lots of protein. All right, I hope this helps. Please, people, listen to Uncle Stef. He used to clock 250 hours for Manulife. For Manulife? I don't know what that is. Anyway, that's it. All right, this is, if you're wondering, this video popping up here is in Cape Elizabeth, Maine. Good night, everybody. Good night.